What's up, weirdos? It really seems like Sydney Sweeney is trying to ruin her career because she did this interview and it blew up like crazy. So we're gonna look at the stuff that she said, especially the most viral clip and a lot of the reactions to it. But then I also want to look at the whole interview itself because there's a lot going on with this one where it's like, it's cringe, it's unhinged, and it really answers all the questions of like, does she know what's going on? Is she actually trying to say? It really provides a clear answer for that. But let's start with the most famous clip that blew this whole thing up. Again, this is talking about the controversy with her American Eagle jeans ad where she was talking about like, Sydney Sweeney has great jeans, talking about blue eyes, blonde hair. A lot of people talking about this is either like intentionally racist or just very ignorant of how it's coming across. I made a video about it on the main channel, but let's get into the most viral clip.
The criticism of the content, which was basically that maybe specifically in this political climate, like white people shouldn't joke about genetic superiority. Like that was kind of like the criticism, broadly speaking. And since you are talking about this, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that specifically.
I think that when I have an issue that I want to speak about, people will hear.
Clock it, Sydney. The interviewer literally asked, hey, just so you know, I'm gonna give you a perfect question right here that you can just say, oh my God, I would never intend to do anything like that. It was completely misconstrued and totally not my intention. I was just reading a script. I had no idea. I feel awful even being associated with something like that. And instead she said, if I cared that what I said came across a little bit white supremacist-y, I'd say something. Oh, what's that there? Me not caring. I ain't saying shit. I don't care. My blonde hair, blue eyes, better than black? What? Sydney! It's the fact that it's literally a question where she can immediately disavow anything. And instead of disavowing it, she's like, I don't want to talk about that. I actually don't want to say anything about that. Which is very interesting when you look at the context of the other things happening in her career right now, where it's being reported, to be fair, this is the Daily Mail, but as of right now, they're not gonna be doing joint interviews or red carpet stuff together for Euphoria when the new season comes out. And they're reporting that Zendaya and Sydney Sweeney are in a bitter feud over differences in their political beliefs. Even if that's being sensationalized, I would not be surprised if Zendaya's like, I don't wanna do interviews with her. You got Amy Lou Wood over here commenting on a post about that interview, a sick to my stomach gross emoji. People in the industry do not fuck with her, going out of their way to express that. And her new movie that she did where she's trying to be like, I'm an artist, I'm an actor. Like that movie Dwayne Johnson did, The Smashing Machine. This is her movie where she's not trying to fit into and appeal to that like sex symbol type demographic. Trying to appeal to like the artsy people, the mindful people, the people who are interested in that type of thing. And the movie Christie, starring Sydney Sweeney, had one of the worst opening weekends of all time for a movie released in 2,000 plus theaters. Not just a flop, an all-time level flop. Kind of makes you think maybe the audience she's pandering to is not an audience that would go out and support her in a movie like this. And if you look at the reactions to that interview on Twitter, whoa boy. Microbraids Hillary Clinton said, not defending her, but she does seem kind of slow. God bless. I do think a big part of this is that she's stupid. To be honest, man, I think she might just be intellectually molested. I don't think she even knew what she was being asked. Or there's this one, my personal favorite. This journalist should quit, honestly. She's handling her with kitty gloves on. Can't even look her in the eye and is practically blushing. She's terrible at her job. And then there's SS living up to her initials. Or one more, there's this guy who's coming at it from a little bit of a different angle. Journalists are very skilled, professional even, at exploiting your natural agreeableness, getting you to humiliate or compromise yourself. Getting through an interview like this with your frame intact takes intelligence, character, and good coaching. It's harder than it looks. Well, she didn't really get through that interview with her frame intact since all the interviewer asked was, hey, you want to say real quick that you do not fuck with white supremacy at all and it was just a big misunderstanding? And Sydney said, no, I don't want to say that actually. If I wanted to say that, I would. But those last two are really picking out at the journalist and being like, she's not doing her job. She's supposed to be really intense and confrontational about it. Y'all, it's an interview with GQ between Men of the Year cover star Sydney Sweeney and GQ features director Catherine Stoffel at the Chateau Marmont. You really think this was a hard-hitting investigative journalism piece? They sat her down because she's their cover star and they were like, hey, we're putting you on the cover. We're getting a lot of heat for it because of this whole white supremacy thing. Could you just do us a favor and say you don't fuck with white supremacy? And even then, Sydney Sweeney's like, no. But now I want to watch the interview because a lot of people are talking about it as if it's supposed to be some like hard-hitting piece that really gets at the heart of this whole thing. And the journalists really like let the ball down. I'm like, maybe this is just because I watch a lot of movies and TV shows, but when I watch this interview, what I am seeing is like, you know when you're watching a show and the character is about to go in like a big interview and there's some stuff that they know that they're gonna have to talk about and they pre-plan what they're gonna do? You sit down, the lighting's there, you have a little pre-conversation with like, okay, are you ready? We're gonna talk about about this? Her and the interviewer are on the same side trying to make a piece together. This is not Watergate. Like, this is GQ. It's planned, coordinated PR between both of the people and the brand who's there and the PR team for Sydney Sweeney. Like, it's all an orchestrated thing to make her image look good. And the thing that's funny about it is that even in the midst of that, when everything is going for her, she still trips, fumbles, and face plants. But is it a trip and fumble and face plant, or is it her explicitly saying, nah, I'm with the people who are like into white supremacy? I don't want to say I disavow that stuff because I'm actually like totally with them. Like, the decisions that she's making and the things that she's saying are kind of leaning wholly into that, which is the exact opposite of the type of people who will go see a movie that she's starring in where it's like, you know, she got her ugly hair, do it differently, try not to be a sex symbol, trying to be a real actress. Like, the people that she's cozying up to are not gonna support that type stuff. Seems a little stupid, but let's get into the interview itself. But first I want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Midas Merge. You get to discover and hatch all these adorable little creatures, and then you evolve them by merging different items together. My favorite animal is the Cappy bird for sure. Look how cute that little sucker is. And the evolution goes level 1, level 2, level 3. Look how cool that is. The whole story though is you're teaming up with King Midas and Queen Leah to bring back the Gardens of Gold against the shadow of Nyx, the goddess of night. So as you play, you're unraveling the story about Nyx while you're merging sunbursts to get rid of the shadows, brighten up the garden. And they just added Firefly Valley. It's a new magical garden with more creatures and endless new merges. The best part is Midas Merge is completely free to download, and it's totally ad-free, and it works offline, great on an airplane or when you're traveling. You can play anywhere with no Wi-Fi, no ad interruptions, and no like hard blocks that stop you from continuing. It's just pure fun. And if you're within the first 100 people to install the game via my link or my QR code, you'll get a unique lantern goat straight from Firefly Valley, and it's personalized with my name. It'll boost your progress, but it's kind of fun to just have like me in there. I'm just a little lantern goat boy having a blast. So download Midas Merge for free using the link in my description or the QR code that's on screen. And thank you so much to Midas Merge for sponsoring this video. Now back to it.
I always speak out about something that is important to me. And for me to speak out, I use art. And I think that through my characters in my movies, it's a way for me to be able to do my part that I can and spread awareness in different ways through my characters. And that's how I've always learned to communicate. And it's really important.
Yeah, it's really important. That's how I always learn to communicate, is specifically through movies and TV shows that go through 2 to 3 years of production. Yeah, that's the only way that I know how to say anything that's important to me. What? Are we stupid? She talking to us like we're stupid, but she's stupid. Yeah, I don't really like to talk about things. I like to talk a little bit more, you know, through my art. Like what? Anyone But You? What are you talking about in the movie Anyone But You? Nothing. What are you talking about in the movie Christie? Or that one where you're like the veteran. And the only thing that came out of that movie is a meme of you. That isn't real life at all. And I understand what people are like, sometimes feel uneducated to talk out about specific things where it's like, it's not what they do. But she's saying like things that are important to me. You wanna hear about that? You gotta go see the biggest box office bomb of all time, where, by the way, I try to act and I deliver every line as flatly as I possibly can.
That's pretty good. Just got some groceries.
And also, just real quick, Sydney, just in case you're interested, you are doing an interview right now where you are being asked questions specifically. So if there's any time to talk about anything that's important to you, maybe it's during the time that somebody's specifically asking you questions about things that might be important to you. Yo, you want to ask a question? Actually, what I learned is I don't communicate through that. I communicate through movies, actually. So nice try, genius. Next question. By the way, I won't answer that one either. Sorry. Let's keep going though. There's a lot more to talk about in this.
Yeah, I've never talked about my personal life.
I know. So what I'm going to do is talk about your year as a phenomenon in the culture, okay? And a big thing that happened to you this year is that you ended your engagement, and I got push notifications about it. And we all sort of looked up and we're like, oh, Sydney Sweeney isn't just a talented actress and an up-and-coming producer. She's someone that people are really obsessed with and really fascinated by. This
is what I'm talking about with the interview, where it's like, this is a specific like press move. Yeah, Sydney Sweeney, that's what she's known for, being a terrific actress and an up-and-coming producer. No, she's not at all. I mean, yeah, we know that she did Madam Web so that she could get Anyone But You funded. Oh my God, her big career highlight is Anyone But You, the thing that Glenn Powell was good in and Sydney Sweeney was in. I'm sorry, there are genuinely some people who are not good actors. She was in Euphoria. I thought, man, she's a really good actress. Come to find out, she's just Cassie. Like, that's just how she acts for real. She like knows business stuff, I guess. She knows how to use her image for business stuff, but also, does she? Because her latest movie, bomb. The only movies that she's done that have been successful are Anyone But You, which was fueled extremely by like the cheating rumors between her and Glenn Powell, and everybody was like fiending for another rom-com to come back, and Glenn Powell is like a huge star, and people were like, maybe Sydney Sweeney's good. The PR move that obviously like her team and GQ are trying to put out there is like, wow, she's an amazing actress, she's an amazing producer, but people are also interested in what she's got going on. Yeah, she is a massive like pop culture, like social media type person in the way that Kim Kardashian is incredibly famous. So like people care and are invested in like the personal life for like the drama and stuff. But serious movies are not lining up to get Sydney Sweeney in them specifically for her acting talents because they're just not there. Like with all due respect, if you're a serious director and you're trying to make a serious movie and you have like aspirations for critical acclaim and like awards and stuff, there's no world where you would ever want to cast Sydney Sweeney over somebody like Elle Fanning. She just doesn't have the chops, but whatever.
Are making Anyone But You, and there's sort of, what do we call it, like a game almost with sort of letting rumors build about you and Glenn, and we all now know that was a projection, let's say, on our parts. That wasn't real. But it occurred to me that maybe that story doesn't go so viral if you're not a very private person. I imagine there are personal benefits to being private about your personal life, but are there also professional benefits to being private about your personal life?
Before she answers, again, very important to talk about how this entire interview is like fully pre-interviewed and like scripted and ready, since it's a collaboration between the GQ cover star and the GQ features director. This is not somebody sitting down to interview her like cold. Like the framing that they are trying to do with the Glenn Powell, Sydney Sweeney cheating thing, well, they just let rumors build. It's just because she's so private. No. This is Gigi Paris, Glenn Powell's ex, who they were like, he was with her at the time of the shooting, and Sydney Sweeney was engaged to a guy. That's why it was like a big thing, because it's like they're cheating with each other. Look at what Glenn Powell's ex said on a podcast publicly.
I had two options. I could either pretend like I was going along with everything and have everyone wonder, like, are they hooking up? Are they not hooking up? Is she okay with this? What the f***? Like, or stand up for myself and say, no, I'm actually not okay with this, and I'm walking away. So that's what I decided to do.
She broke up with him because of what was going on with Glenn and Sydney Sweeney on the set. This attempt at reframing it like the public just ran wild. Do y'all remember what was going on? Stuff like this, though.
What's your name again? I want to make sure I'm screaming out the right one tonight.
Okay. There's so much more. That's not the point. But the point is, it was us projecting it onto you because you're so private. You're so private and mysterious, which is why you didn't talk about the American Eagle thing, right? That's why you don't talk about stuff like that, which is why it's okay that we, GQ, are having you on the cover. But like, that's the reason the Glenn Powell and like Sydney Sweeney cheating stuff blew up. Everybody knows about that. And like the reason that blew up is because it's so private. Also goes with the American Eagle thing. So it's cool that we got you on our cover, right? You're just saying shit. It's just like so PR. There's some dude in a room with 14 interns and he's like, yo, what if we tie this together with this? And then we say, well, it's both because she's private, and then she says that she doesn't like to talk publicly, then everybody's gonna eat it up and say, Sydney Sweeney's so epic. Bro, we're seeing through you like it's Ziploc. Like, how stupid are we supposed to be? We're not dumb. But she's answering the question about being private, so let's go ahead and hear what Sydney has to say. Ol' SS.
The professional benefits for me and being private is for my own just health and sanity. If I let everybody in all the time, I have nothing for myself. And I am just a 27-year-old, or I'm 28 now. I turned 28 yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. But I'm just a 28-year-old woman who's trying to figure it out.
Not just a 28-year-old woman who's trying to figure it out. That's why when people are like, do you disavow white supremacy? I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if I like it or not. I think I might. I don't know. I don't want to have to say everything all the time. Like, what I basically like to do is I like to keep things for myself. I like to keep things private. That's why when people are like, are you a Nazi? I'm like, oh, I don't know. They certainly would have let me back then in Germany back then in 1946. That shtick not working for me right now, SS. I'm 28, 88. I mean, there is truth to leave some things privately, like keep some things to yourself. I don't think that extends to when a bunch of people, like a lot of people, like it becomes a huge moment because so many people are thinking that what you're saying is like either a dog whistle for white supremacy or you don't care that it's being perceived that way. That's the real thing of like, no matter what, it's being perceived that way. And she's saying, I don't care. Which, what does that say about your image? That you don't care that a lot of people think that you're like really racist. That's what's so shocking to me, because it would be the easiest thing in the world to be like, oh my God, no, I'm not like Nazi at all. And she can't say that. Why? Because I'm so private. Because of like the Glenn Powell thing happened because I'm so private and I'm private. Let's keep going though.
Okay, but so you're never tempted to just like open your notes app and say, this is what I really think, and this is who I am, and this is what's going on in my life, and like stop guessing and projecting.
I mean, I'll vent to my girlfriends, but
Okay.
other than that, no.
No. Okay. That's honestly really impressive. Like,
I know who I am.
right.
I know what I value. I know that I'm a kind person. I know that I love a lot.
Wow. Oh my God, you can say so many nice things about yourself. Okay, so I believe that. Okay, all right, so you say a lot of compliments about yourself. Okay, I know myself and I vent to my girlfriend. You realize there's millions of people right now who are thinking you either are intentionally doing some white supremacist type dog whistle things, or you think it's funny that you're doing those things, or that you are at least not caring that people think that about you. But I know myself. I'll talk to my girlfriends. I'll talk to them like they're saying that, and I don't like, okay, do I agree with it? Maybe, but like they're saying that, and it's like, what? But that's not charming. That's so not charming. It's like inauthentic. It's so not real. It's so fake. It's so pick me. Because if tens of millions of people thought that I was a white supremacist for something that I said accidentally, I would be so fast to come out and be like, I'm not, because there'd be no negative outcome to saying I'm not. There's a lot of negative outcome for not saying anything, because it's like, so I said that, and what I said stands. And if you got a problem with that, then you got a problem with that. Okay, but they think you're white supremacist because you said that. So you don't want to like explicitly say, oh, that's not at all what I meant by that. You'd rather just go, and screw you. I'll talk to my girlfriends because what I am is kind and I love so much, so deeply, so hard. Your silence speaks so much because it's like being explicitly asked about the thing and you refuse to answer the thing that you're explicitly asked about. The interviewer's sitting there like, wow, that's actually so sick. Oh, so you never, when people think like awful things about you, you're never like, guys, just so you know, I didn't mean that at all. You never want to like set the record straight because there's actually also like tens of millions of people who are white supremacists and they are like Nazi type stuff and they love you right now and they're really flocking behind you. And Sydney's like, yeah, that's why I don't want to say anything. Because if I said something, then basically those people would think that I'm not on their side anymore. But I don't want them to think I'm not on their side. That's what she's doing. She's like actually doing that. And I am not shocked that Zendaya would then not want to be in any interviews with her. I would not want to be associated with her. If I'm in a movie with her, I'm like, can we get her off the press tour Ezra Miller style? But then they get to the American Eagle thing and let's watch it in context.
We're sort of talking around this American Eagle ad right now, and maybe we should just talk about it. So, were you surprised by the reaction?
I did a jean ad. I mean, the reaction definitely was a surprise, but it was, I love jeans. All I wear are jeans. I'm literally in jeans and a t-shirt like every day of my life.
Jeans are uncontroversial. Jeans are awesome.
Yeah, I like your jeans.
You look great in your jeans.
Yeah, jeans are uncontroversial until you start talking about how you got blonde hair, blue eyes, and that means you got good jeans. Oh, well, it's just like a double entendre. Yeah, the other part of the double entendre is a white supremacist talking point. And if you're like, I accidentally said a white supremacist talking point, I think you would be very, very, very motivated to say, I accidentally did it. We were just trying to do a pun, and that happened, and it was a big accident. But when you're refusing to say it was an accident, you're just saying, well, there's a double entendre right there, and one of the parts is very white supremacist-y, one of their big old talking points. And you refuse to say, oh man, I wish I wasn't associated with that because I did not mean that at all. When you won't say that, it is saying a lot. I did a jean ad. Okay, but it's not like people are just hallucinating that was a thing. She's so like, yeah, whatever, like, I'm so unbothered by it, I don't even care at all. Okay, then how come y'all are sitting out there doing an entire press interview for it because GQ is so nervous to have you on their cover because they haven't addressed the situation, so they got to get out in front of it a little bit. Like, this whole thing is proof itself that it was a big deal. And if it's a big enough deal for this whole sham wow to exist, then you would think it's important enough to say, I'm not white supremacist. It's so stupid that she can't just say, I'm not white supremacist. But it's not stupid. It's not like she doesn't understand. People on Twitter being like, she's just dumb. She just doesn't get it. I don't think she's like, okay, I do think that she is dumb, but I don't think that she's so dumb that she's just accidentally not disavowing it. I think it's a very intentional decision to not disavow it because it's almost like if I act like the criticism is real, then all of a sudden the criticism is real. Well, the criticism is real, and you're doing the same strategy for the cheating rumors with Glenn Powell, which his ex-girlfriend explicitly came out and said she was not cool with, and she broke up with Glenn Powell specifically because of that. But that's also just like not real, right? huh? And now, here come the next part. Very, very interesting. Let's go.
The president tweeted about the jeans ad, or Truth Socialed about the jeans ad, and that just seems to me like a very crazy moment for anyone, and I wondered what that was like.
The interviewer right there going, we've asked you 13 times to disavow white supremacy. You haven't done it, but here's an even bigger softball. Donald Trump is at his highest disapproval rating. Nobody is happy with what he's doing. Nobody's happy with him as a person. Easy as slam dunk. I didn't like that. But what's Sydney say?
It was surreal.
It was surreal. Mm-hmm. And
Why'd she say it like this? Oh my God, it was surreal. Wow. Surreal with a big old beaming smile. Not necessarily saying she doesn't like him. She's just step after step after step alienating herself so much from the people who would actually support a movie like Christie, which came out and bomb! And yet she's saying, I actually want to talk about important issues in movies. Okay, the people that you're pandering to right now, they're not watching that shit at all. You're pandering to a group of people who are explicitly behind you because they find you as a sex symbol. And what you learned how to do with communication, she said. What I learned how to do with communication is I do it through movies and TV. Okay, so you're only ever gonna be able to communicate sex symbol status for like however long you're able to do that for because you're tanking your career in every other direction. You are already struggling hard enough to get cast in a movie based on how you don't have good acting talent. And that's just a little bit too rude, but it is true. But now look at this, because the interviewer asks a little bit further about the Trump question because I don't know why. Go ahead.
I would probably feel like thankful that somebody had my back in public, you know, and conveniently some very powerful people had my back in public. And I wondered if you felt that way.
I don't think that.
Take your time. Take your time. So she's saying it would be very human if you felt grateful to President Trump. You grateful for President Trump for having your back in public? Sydney going, You're on camera right now, Sydney. You do know that, right? Y'all did talk about this ahead of time. You knew this question was coming up. She going, Trump. She keeps going. By the way, it goes so long that they have to do a cut.
It's not that that feeling didn't. I didn't have that feeling, but I wasn't thinking of it like that, or like of any of it. I kind of just put my phone away. I was filming every day. I'm filming Euphoria, so I'm working like 16-hour days, and I don't really bring my phone on set, so I work and then I go home and I go to sleep.
Yeah, that was the first time that angle has been used in the entire interview, and they obviously shot it for coverage so that they could cut around anything like that, where she's going, President Trump, oh, I love him. How much do I love him? So much. But I probably shouldn't say, I love him, but, yeah, The editor's sitting there like, okay, so this goes on for about 3 minutes. Can I cut away? She's saying, okay, but I wasn't able to be on my phone because I'm filming Euphoria. Yeah, but, you know, like, yeah. Doesn't really work as an excuse for anything when you're sitting in front of an interviewer asking you, like, months after the fact, when you're sitting there specifically to do an interview and answer questions and you still won't say anything about it. It's not really like, well, I was just so busy. When you're sitting on a couch where your job is to answer questions and you still won't answer a question where you say, I don't like white supremacy. You hear that question, do you like white supremacy? And your response is, I know myself, and I'm kind, and I'm very loving. I know what that means. Not saying, no, I'm not a white supremacist, is saying one thing. And it's not that you're not always so cringe. But they ask her specifically about how it's gonna affect her career, and here's what she says.
But the risk is that, you know, there's a chance that somebody will get some idea about what you think about certain issues and feel like, I don't want to see Christy because of that. Like, do you worry about that?
No. If somebody is closed off because of something they read online.
It's not something that we read online, Sydney. It's something that you said with your face and then shut the fuck up about when somebody asked you if you disavow white supremacy. You said, actually, I'm not gonna answer that. I'm not gonna get tricked into a question where you ask me if I'm a Nazi or not. I'm not gonna answer that. No, I'm not worried about people not seeing Christy because of something like that. Well, you should have been. You really should have been. Because again, it's not just a box office bomb. It is one of the worst box office bombs of all time for a movie of that scale. It's so bad that The Smashing Machine, that Dwayne Johnson movie that I talked about earlier, which by the way, huge box office bomb on its own merits because nobody wanted to watch it. I watched it. I kind of liked it. It was weird, but I liked it. That was a big box office bomb that's kind of been the talk of the industry. And her movie, Christy, performed so bad that a very respected indie film journalist wrote, Christy had one of the worst weekends of all time for a film opening in 2,000 plus theaters, pulling in a shockingly low $1.3 million. The Smashing Machine suddenly looks like a box office juggernaut. So bad that it's making flops look like hits. You should have been worried that when somebody asks you, are you a Nazi? And you said, I'm not gonna answer that. That it might be turning off some people who are, not interested in watching movies made by people who would act like that. And again, I'm not saying she's a Nazi. She just doesn't care that a lot of people think she is. And how different is that? Like, if there's a gradient of like Nazi to not Nazi at all, it's like she could have really come out of on the side of not Nazi at all. She's somewhere in the gradient by not saying anything. She's like, I can't have a Nazi feeling. sorry. But she continues talking about the people who would refuse to see Christy because of her involvement in it.
I hope something else can open their eyes to being open to art and being open to learning. And I'm not gonna be affected by that.
Yeah, I think the people who are not interested in seeing you in a movie, Christy, are first of all not seeing it from an artistic perspective because they don't want to sit there and watch you for an hour and a half perform lines with the emotional intensity of this and like the connection to the material of this. You just deliver lines really flatly and you just don't have really any charisma or connection on screen. Like, unfortunately, that is the case, and it works for a character like Cassie, who is supposed to be that. But if I'm deciding between two Euphoria alum movies, I'm gonna be going and seeing Frankenstein. Guillermo del Toro, Frankenstein! I'm seeing that, not Christy, where she goes, I'm gonna box so hard that when I punch, it hurts you. Golly. Put too much mustard on the golly, she probably wouldn't even do that. And she's saying, these people are a little bit closed off to art. Like, I would hope that people would open their minds. You are talking about the wrong type of people right now. The type of people who are open to art are the people who are not interested in seeing your movie because you are refusing to disavow white supremacy when specifically asked about it. It's not even about the American Eagle jeans ad anymore. It's about you not even wanting to say, guys, I'm not white supremacist, I'm not at all. But you won't say that. So like, you are talking about these people, me, as if I am closed off to art. No, I'm closed off to watching anything that has you in it. First of all, even if you were a great person, it'd be difficult to get me in a theater to watch you because your acting is so piss poor. Throw in that you won't say you're not white supremacist. I'm not seeing that shit. And then she says this. This is the part where it's like in the full context of the interview, seeing it without falling out of a coconut tree, like we exist in the context of this whole interview. It's even crazier. Because go ahead, Sydney.
Is there something that you want to say about the ad itself? The Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Do you have?
The ad spoke for itself.
You think the ad spoke for itself? Okay, yeah. And the criticism of the content, which was basically that maybe specifically in this political climate, like white people shouldn't joke about genetic superiority. Like that was kind of like the criticism, broadly speaking. And since you are talking about this, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that specifically.
I think that when I have an issue that I want to speak about, people will hear.
We want to give you a chance right now to say that you don't align with white supremacy. I'm going to explicitly say that the criticism was that white people maybe shouldn't be joking about genetic superiority. And instead of being like, oh yeah, I was not thinking about it like that. I was just thinking about it like it's a pun. Like people say I'm pretty, so it's like my genes are good. I didn't even connect on that. She doesn't want to say that. She wants to say, I think the ad spoke for itself. You know, the ad that was broadly criticized for having white supremacist like talking points in it, even if it was accidental, it was in it. That was what the takeaway of the ad was. Yeah, I think it spoke for itself. Yeah. The reaction of me watching it and then the reaction of an actual like neo-Nazi watching this. Like he's watching this and he's like, oh my God, she is one of us. Oh my God, she's not even caving. She's literally standing strong. Oh my God. So if that's how you're like making the Nazis feel versus how you're making the explicitly, and again, I want to say this, guys, I am not a white supremacist at all. And I feel like this, it's just so on the one hand stupid, but on the other hand, you know what I mean? It like the ad spoke for itself. But what people heard from the ad is that you think white people are superior. And then people were like, well, that's too far. Like, obviously she doesn't mean that. But it's the same thing that white supremacists would say. Like, I understand that there's a world where you're not saying it for that reason, but it is also something that white supremacists would say. So you might want to say, oh yeah, I fully, not clocking on that, which is totally out of my mind. But you won't say that. So what does that say? What does that say? And I think the message is loud and clear, but I don't know. What do you think? How do you feel about Sydney Sweeney? Are you gonna watch her next movie? I'm so excited for it. I'm not watching anything that she ever makes. Like, it's gonna be so ass. I didn't even finish Euphoria because it was like, I just didn't want to watch all that. That was like too much. But I love y'all. I want to hear what your take is and what you think on the situation, because I feel like I can't be wrong about this. This is what it is. Like, it's very like just a straightforward reading of what's happening, and it's blowing my mind that she's refusing to say that she's not like white supremacist type stuff. But whatever, you know what? I love y'all so much. Please subscribe to this channel. I wish I knew.